I'll pay double, triple, whatever it takes to get rid of that pathetic little wedding and secure this venue for my daughter's engagement gala." Aunt Vivian's voice sliced through the morning calm of the Moonstone Estate, her manicured finger jabbing at the contract on the desk. The venue manager, Mrs. Delacroix, gripped her phone with trembling hands and whispered, "I need to call the owner immediately, Mrs. Wellington." I pushed through the frosted glass doors at that exact moment, my wedding dress sketches tucked under my arm, and called out cheerfully, "Hi, Mom, what's the problem?" not knowing I was about to detonate a family bomb that had been ticking for 20 years. The Persian rug might as well have been yanked from under Aunt Vivian's designer heels. Her face cycled through expressions like a slot machine, shock, disbelief, and finally landing on pure, undiluted horror. Behind her, my cousin Isabella clutched her Birkin bag so tightly her knuckles went white, her recently enhanced lips forming a perfect O of surprise. "Savannah!" Aunt Vivian's voice cracked like fine china hitting marble. "What? How? Why are you here?" "Well," I said, settling into the moment with probably more satisfaction than was healthy, "I imagine I'm here for the same reason you are. To discuss wedding plans. Specifically, the Robertson Carter wedding you're so eager to cancel. Though I go by Savannah Carter now. You'd know that if you'd bothered to RSVP to my wedding instead of pretending I died 3 years ago. My mother, Margaret Delacroix, owner of the Moonstone Estate, and the woman who'd built this venue from her divorce settlement into the most exclusive wedding destination in the Hamptons, looked between us with the expression of someone who'd just solved a particularly vindictive crossword puzzle. "The Robertson wedding," Mom said slowly, emphasizing each word, "is your daughter's wedding." "That's impossible," Isabella interjected, finding her voice. "She's marrying some nobody. A firefighter or something equally blue-collar. There's no way she could afford—" "A paramedic," I corrected coolly. "And his name is Marcus. He's also completing his MD at Columbia. Not that you asked. As for affording it, funny thing about cutting toxic family out of your life. You save a fortune on therapy and can put that money toward things that actually matter." Aunt Vivian straightened her spine, defaulting to her favorite weapon, condescension. "Margaret, surely you can see this is a misunderstanding. The Wellington name carries weight in this community. Isabella's engagement to Prescott Hadley IV is the social merger of the decade. We're talking about senators, ambassadors, the entire Hadley pharmaceutical fortune. The same Prescott Hadley who got expelled from Princeton for paying someone to take his exams?" I interrupted. "Or are we talking about a different Prescott Hadley who crashed his Ferrari into a Starbucks last month while high on his family's own products?" Isabella's face flushed beneath her spray tan. "Those incidents were taken out of context." "By the police reports?" I pulled out my phone. "Because I have copies. Amazing what becomes public record when Daddy's lawyers can't make it disappear fast enough." "How dare you?" "How dare I what, Isabella? Tell the truth? Point out that you're about to marry a man who makes your father's cocaine habit look recreational?" I turned to Aunt Vivian. "Oh, did she not tell you about Prescott's little pharmaceutical sampling problem? Or were you too busy calculating the social capital to care?" My mother cleared her throat. "Perhaps we should discuss this in my private office." "No," I said firmly. "They wanted to have this conversation in the open. Let's have it." I moved closer to the desk where my wedding folder lay innocent and unassuming. "You want to know the really pathetic part of this whole situation? If you'd just called me, just once in 3 years, you'd have known about my wedding. You could have picked literally any other date. As if we'd waste time on someone who threw away their legacy for love," Aunt Vivian sneered. But there was something desperate in her eyes now. "Legacy?" I laughed, the sound bouncing off the crystal chandeliers. "You mean the legacy of marrying for money and dying miserable? The legacy of prescription pills at breakfast and affairs by lunch? That legacy? At least we maintained the family reputation." "You maintained nothing." The words erupted from somewhere deep, somewhere I'd kept locked for 3 years. You're living in a house bought with grandfather's money, wearing jewelry Uncle William buys to apologize for his mistresses, and planning a wedding for your daughter to a man who will be dead by 40 if his liver doesn't give out first. Mom, Isabella said quietly, and something in her voice made us all turn. She's not wrong about Prescott. The admission hung in the air like a confession. Isabella, don't be ridiculous. He was high at our engagement party, Isabella continued, her voice gaining strength. Had to leave halfway through to meet his dealer. Told everyone he had a medical emergency. She laughed bitterly. I suppose technically he did. All men have their vices. All men? I stared at my aunt. Is that what you told yourself about Uncle William? Is that what you tell Isabella to keep her in line? Your uncle provides a spectacular life. My uncle provides spectacular bruises, I shot back. Or did you think I didn't notice the pattern? Always somewhere clothing would cover. Always with an excuse ready. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the morning birds seemed to stop singing. You don't know what you're talking about, Aunt Vivian said, but her voice had lost its edge. Don't I? I pulled out a chair and sat down, suddenly exhausted. Summer of 2019. You showed up to the charity gala with a broken wrist. Said you fell off a horse, but you hadn't been riding in years. Christmas 2020. Concussion. Skiing accident. Except there was no snow that December. 4th of July last year. Stop. The word was barely a whisper. I tried to help, I said quietly. Called you dozens of times. Left messages, sent resources. You blocked my number and told the family I was spreading malicious rumors because I was jealous of your perfect life. Isabella sank into a chair beside me. You tried to help? Of course I did. She's still my aunt, despite everything. I looked at Aunt Vivian, who seemed to have aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Just like you're still my cousin, despite the fact that you've spent our entire lives competing for a prize that doesn't exist. I don't compete. Isabella, you literally hired someone to seduce my high school boyfriend just to prove you could. You applied to every college I did just to see who could get into more. You even dated Marcus before I did. What? Isabella's head snapped up. Oh, you didn't know? Yeah, he was one of your conquests freshman year at Brown. The pre-med you dumped because he was, and I quote, too focused on saving lives instead of making money. Isabella's face was a study in shock. Marcus Carter? Your Marcus was my Marcus from— Oh my God. She covered her face with her hands. He's the one who got away. The one who actually cared about me instead of my trust fund. Funny how that works, I said dryly. When you treat people as disposable, they tend to dispose of themselves. But he chose you, Isabella said, looking at me with something I'd never seen before. Genuine curiosity without malice. Why? Because I chose him back, I said simply. Because when he talked about his dreams of combining emergency medicine with community outreach, I didn't calculate the salary potential. When he showed up to our second date covered in blood from saving a kid's life, I didn't worry about the stains on my designer dress. I worried about him. That's it? Isabella seemed genuinely confused. You just loved him? Revolutionary concept, I know. My mother, who'd been suspiciously quiet, finally spoke. Vivian, the venue is booked. The contracts are signed. The Robertson-Carter wedding will proceed as planned on October 12th. You're choosing her over us? Aunt Vivian's voice was hollow. Over the Wellington name? I'm choosing integrity over intimidation, Mom replied calmly. Something I learned from watching my daughter these past 3 years. Did you know she volunteers at the free clinic Marcus helped establish? Or that she's been teaching art therapy to veterans with PTSD? She took the trust fund you all thought she was squandering and created a scholarship program for first-generation medical students. I stared at my mother. How did you— I've been keeping tabs, she admitted with a small smile. Couldn't exactly brag to the family since they'd declared you dead to them, but I've been privately bursting with pride. This is insane. Aunt Vivian stood abruptly. Isabella, We're leaving. We'll find another venue, one that values— I'm pregnant. Isabella's quiet words stopped her mother cold. What? 10 weeks, Isabella continued, her hand moving unconsciously to her stomach. Prescott doesn't know. No one knows. I've been trying to figure out how to tell him, but he's been so high lately he probably wouldn't remember anyway. Isabella, Aunt Vivian's voice was dangerous. You will not ruin this merger with— With what? The truth? Isabella stood, and for the first time in our lives, she looked taller than her mother. I'm carrying the heir to the Hadley fortune, and the father is too coked up to care. That's the life you want for me? That's the legacy worth preserving? You could handle it, Aunt Vivian said delicately, quietly, discreetly. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Handle it? Isabella's voice was ice. Like you handled yours? I looked between them, understanding dawning. Isabella isn't your only pregnancy. Shut your mouth, Aunt Vivian hissed, but Isabella was already talking. I was 16 when I found the medical records, she said. 2 terminations before me, 1 after, all because the timing would have been inconvenient for father's career. Those were different circumstances. Were they? Isabella pulled out her phone, scrolling through it. Because I have the receipts, literally, private clinic bills, all charged to your personal account so father wouldn't find out. She looked up at her mother. Is that why you stay? Because he doesn't know? Because you're terrified he'll find out you weren't the perfect wife producing heirs on his schedule? Aunt Vivian sank into a chair, her carefully constructed facade crumbling. You don't understand what it was like. The pressure, the expectations. Your grandfather— Grandfather's been dead for 15 years, I said gently. Who are you performing for now? The question hung in the air like an accusation. I loved someone once, Aunt Vivian said suddenly, the words tumbling out like a dam breaking. Before your uncle, a teacher. Can you imagine? A teacher, like your Marcus with his community clinic dreams. My parents threatened to disown me, to cut me off entirely. I was 21 and terrified, and I chose security over love. And you've been punishing everyone who chose differently ever since, I said, understanding finally clicking into place. That's why you hated my relationship with Marcus so much. It reminded you of what you gave up. Don't psychoanalyze me. But there was no heat in it anymore. Mom, Isabella said softly, it's not too late. You could leave him. We both could leave. Start over. With what? We have nothing of our own. That's not true, I interrupted. Grandmother left trusts for all the grandchildren. Ironclad, untouchable trusts. Isabella has money of her own. And you? I looked at my aunt. You have a law degree you never used. Yale law, if I remember correctly. That was 30 years ago. So, update your credentials. Take the bar. Start practicing. Hell, specialize in divorce law. You'd have personal insight. Isabella laughed, watery but genuine. Can you imagine? Vivian Wellington, divorce attorney. The irony would kill the country club. Good, Aunt Vivian said suddenly, surprising us all. Let them choke on it. We all stared at her. 27 years, she continued. 27 years of perfect parties and appropriate responses and looking the other way while he spent our anniversary with his secretary. 27 years of teaching my daughter that her only value was in her ability to marry well, just like my mother taught me. She looked at Isabella with tears in her eyes. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Isabella moved to her mother, and they embraced for what I suspected was the first real time in years. So, my mother said after a moment, about the venue situation. Keep the date, Isabella said immediately. Savannah needs it for her wedding, her real wedding to someone who actually loves her. And you? I asked. I'm going to become a single mother, Isabella decided. Get my own place. Maybe finally finish that psychology degree I started before Mother convinced me it was beneath a Wellington woman. Psychology? I couldn't hide my surprise. I wanted to help people, Isabella admitted. Ironic, considering how much hurt I've caused. It's never too late to change direction, I offered. No, Aunt Vivian agreed, standing straighter. It's not. She turned to my mother. Margaret, I apologize for my behavior today. It was unconscionable. Apology accepted, Mom said graciously. We all do desperate things when we're scared. Savannah, Aunt Vivian turned to me. I owe you more than an apology. I owe you 20 years of them. But maybe we could start with coffee. I thought about it. About the years of hurt, the cruel words, the deliberate exclusions. But I also thought about Marcus and his infinite capacity for forgiveness, his belief that people could change if given the chance. Coffee, I agreed. But somewhere public, with witnesses, and possibly a mediator. Fair enough, Aunt Vivian almost smiled. Can I... Isabella started, then stopped. Would it be weird if I came to your wedding? Not to upstage or compete or any of that old garbage? Just to celebrate with you? You dated the groom, I pointed out. For like 3 weeks 12 years ago, Isabella said. And I was awful to him. Maybe I could apologize? Bring a really nice toaster as a peace offering? Despite everything, I laughed. We don't need a toaster, but you could bring those killer brownies you used to make, the ones with the sea salt. You remember those? Isabella, I've been trying to recreate that recipe for 10 years. It's the only thing you've ever done that I couldn't compete with. I'll make a triple batch, she promised. And I'll bring copies of the recipe. No more secrets. No more secrets, Aunt Vivian agreed. As they gathered their things to leave, no longer in a huff but with purpose, Isabella turned back. Savannah? That thing you said about Marcus combining emergency medicine with community outreach. Does he need help? I mean, I have all this money I'm not using to plan a wedding to a drug addict anymore. And psychology services might be useful in community health? I smiled. I'll ask him. He'd probably love the help. After they left, Mom and I sat in the quiet of the venue, morning light streaming through the windows where my wedding reception would soon be held. That was, Mom started. Intense? Overdue? Completely insane? Healing, she finished. Painful, but healing. Think they'll actually change? I think they're going to try, Mom said. That's more than most people do. My phone buzzed. Marcus, sending his usual morning text. Saving lives and missing you. Reminder that I love you more than coffee, which is saying something at 5 a.m. Can't wait to marry you in 10 weeks. I showed Mom, who smiled. He really is perfect for you. Perfectly imperfect, I agreed. He leaves his socks everywhere and can't cook anything but ramen. He works insane hours and comes home covered in other people's bodily fluids. He'll never make the Forbes list or get us into the country club. But he makes me laugh until my stomach hurts. He holds my hand during scary movies, even though he's more scared than me. He believes in making the world better, one patient at a time. And he loves me, really loves me. Not the Wellington name or the trust fund or the potential social connections, just me. But that's worth everything, Mom said softly. Everything, I agreed. As I left the venue, wedding folder tucked safely under my arm, I thought about family, the one we're born into and the one we choose. Sometimes they overlap. Sometimes they're so separate they might as well exist in different universes. And sometimes, on rare mornings in unexpected venues, they collide and create the possibility for something new. 10 weeks until I married Marcus. 10 weeks until our families, biological and chosen, would gather in this space to celebrate love over convenience, happiness over status, truth over facades. It wouldn't be the society wedding of the year. There would be no senators or ambassadors. Prescott Hadley IV definitely wouldn't be there. But there would be my mother, proud and present. There would be Marcus's family, loud and loving and completely unimpressed by pedigree. There would be our friends from the clinic, the veterans from my art therapy group, the fellow medical students who'd become our chosen siblings. And maybe, just maybe, there would be an aunt learning to live authentically for the first time in 3 decades, and a cousin discovering who she was beyond her mother's expectations. It wasn't the family reunion anyone would have predicted. But then again, the best things in life rarely go according to plan.